This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life.
Hello everybody, it's Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show. Thank you very much for watching today. I want to talk about a really important topic, and I have a new chart on my website. It's how to store goods. You can get this at rawlife.com. And it just doesn't talk how to store goods, but it also talks about important things like GMOs and why it's important to eat organic. It's a great little chart. I sell several of these different charts with different subjects on my website. But it really just helps us understand as a reminder without having to read a big book or without having to listen to videos for hours and hours. It's just a simple chart with 4 pages. It's laminated, so you could take it with you, you could hang it up. But it's how to store goods, and it talks about why to buy fresh foods. And basically, you're preserving the enzymes when you get to foods as fresh as possible. But as soon as you cut a food, or if a food's not stored correctly, it rapidly starts losing enzymes and nutrients. So we need to make sure we're storing the foods as well as we can. And there are certain foods that spoil more quickly than others, and this talks about it. So if you're looking to save money at the same time while eating healthy, because one of the common complaints people have about eating healthy is they just don't have enough money to do it. Well, yeah, it's not a sale or it's not a good deal if you're throwing the food away because you didn't store it correctly or it didn't last long enough. So this chart talks about some foods and how long their life is. So things that spoil more quickly like tomatoes, mushrooms, broccoli, berries, and asparagus. So those don't last as long. Now, yes, when you put things in a refrigerator, they last longer. And in certain cases, that'll help. And with these particular items, it will help. But then you got other things that last a little bit longer, like cauliflower and lettuce and peppers and spinach. And then there are other things that last even longer, like carrots, onion, potatoes, and squash. So that's just a good example. So knowing these things, what lasts longer or not, might help you budget your money a little bit better if you don't have enough time to make something right away. Knowing what goes bad more quicker than other things, that definitely helps. But besides just getting foods and storing them the right way and eating them quickly, this chart talks about the importance of organic and also GMO. Now, many people think if it's organic, it's automatically GMO, and that's not necessarily true. And vice versa. Many people think if it's non-GMO, it's automatically organic, and that's not necessarily true either. Organic and GMO are 2 important issues. They're not necessarily the same thing. I'll make videos discussing the difference of both of those, but you want to make sure your food is organic if possible. If possible, but if you can't afford organic, don't not eat healthy. But you definitely want to make sure your food is not GMO, genetically modified. So that, in my opinion, is more important is GMO than non-organic, because there's certain foods that are sprayed more than others. So the GMO is really what you want to focus on first, and then organic second. But how long the food lasts is very important, and how you store it is very important as well. And you know, it's not always the way a food looks to determine if it's a good food or not, because you know, people want to sell food so they have the perfect looking food in the market. Well, sometimes the food that just doesn't look as perfect, maybe at a farmer's market or something, you can get and actually save money on it because it doesn't look perfect. They might sell it to you cheaper, but it can be just as fresh. But you want to make sure food feels good and smells good when you're eating it or when you're buying it, and that's an important thing. So if it has a rotten smell, it's overripe. If it's too hard, it might be underripe. So learning about that and storing a food, if you store a food that's unripe in the fridge, it's just going to not only slow down the ripening process, but slow down a lot of the process of the digestible process. So I tend to let things out of the fridge and ripen naturally if I don't actually get them ripe right off the tree, which I preferably is the best. But then after they ripen, I put them in the fridge. I don't put them in the fridge to slow down the ripening. And that's what, unfortunately, many supermarkets do. And that creates a big problem because you can't even find sometimes ripe bananas or avocados and things like that in the store because it goes right from the right from the tree, picked unripe, to the freezer in the store or the refrigerator in the store. And it's never got a chance to ripen properly. And then it doesn't taste good. It's not healthy for us and so on. So we have to be careful about that. Now, this chart also talks about the pesticides in foods, and if you are going to buy non-organic, which ones are safer than others. The highest pesticide-loaded fruits and vegetables, the things you definitely should get organic if you can. And the list is pretty much peaches, apples, nectarines, strawberries, cherries, imported grapes, and pears. So from the standpoint of fruit, these are the ones you want to make sure. And this chart is a great reminder. Just have this posted on your refrigerator. You don't have to eat 100% organic, but if you are not going to eat organic, make sure you definitely avoid those foods from a fruit standpoint. From a vegetable standpoint, bell peppers, sweet bell peppers, celery, kale, lettuce, and carrots. And I would say all leafy greens pretty much you want to avoid if you're not going to buy 100% organic. And this chart is a great reminder. Now, the lowest sprayed foods and the foods that would be okay to eat, avocado, pineapple, mangoes, kiwis, papayas, watermelon, and grapefruits. These aren't sprayed with a high amount of pesticides. So these are some foods that if you weren't going to eat organic, they would be a better choice because they're the lowest amount. Now you do want to be careful because papayas are GMO. Not all papayas, but papayas from Hawaii are GMO. So you want to make sure you're getting papayas that are not from Hawaii if you are going to eat papayas. And so the vegetables, the lowest sprayed ones would be onions, sweet corn, which if it's not organic, it's going to be GMO. So you don't want to get sweet corn. But from a pesticide standpoint, it's not as sprayed. Sweet peas, cabbage, eggplant, broccoli, tomatoes, and sweet potatoes. Now remember, some of the reasons they don't need to put a lot of spray on these things is because they are GMO, like corn. So that just doesn't necessarily mean it's okay to get, still not organic. But that just gives you a little idea, and that's what this chart does. And it just gives you tips on cleaning things and eating things right away. For example, if you cut something open, you start losing the enzymes immediately. So if you have watermelon or something else right away, that's cut, it's not as good. You should keep it together until you're going to eat it if possible. It also talks in this chart about washing different produce. People always ask me about should they get a spray to wash stuff that's not organic, or should they just put water under it, or should they do nothing? From my experience, if you're growing it in your own garden and you haven't sprayed it, then you don't need to wash it as much. Just make sure there's no bugs in there. But if you're getting it from the store, you definitely want to make sure you wash your food. I just use water pretty much, but they do have vegetable sprays, and as long as they're non-toxic, I think they're good. I know some people use hydrogen peroxide, or some people food-grade hydrogen peroxide or apple cider vinegar, or even white vinegar to wash stuff. And it's okay if you want to wash stuff, especially if you got something that's not organic and it's one of the things that are highly sprayed with pesticides. Those things you definitely want to make sure you're using a spray or something. But if it's one of the other ones, you could just use some water possibly. But this chart talks about them, and it just gives good advice. And then it talks about what foods that you could store better frozen or dehydrating better than others. And that's another common question I get. People often ask me, what foods store better frozen, or how do these store? Like bananas are wonderful frozen, but certain foods aren't good frozen. You don't want to freeze celery, or spinach. They don't do as well. So this really gets into that, drying and dehydrating, and what foods happen with that. And then there's fermenting and cultivating. What foods are safe and healthy to ferment, and what is not, and how to do it. That's another thing to consider when we store stuff. And nuts and seeds and oils and things that have fats in it. The fats go rancid in the heat. So how do we store those? It talks about that here. I like to put my nuts and seeds in the refrigerator if possible. I also like to sprout my nuts before I eat them if possible. They're often much better. And then I love this great big list here of how and where to store produce. It's a great big list. Basically, it goes through each food. It just talks about where in the house to store it. If you should have it room temperature, or if you should have it in a fridge, or if you should have it in a bag, or what. It's a great chart. It's a great chart, and I really recommend it. And then on the back of the chart, it continues with this long list. It gets into the fruit and how and where to store them. And then it even has some recipes on the back. It has some recipes of a salad dressing recipe from Hippocrates Health Institute. So these are on my website, rawlife.com. You can check them out, rawlife.com, and get them there. And if you have any comments or questions, post them below the video. But I want to just help you help yourselves and help you not waste money on food, because I know a lot of times people buy food and it goes bad real quickly, and then people are wasting more money on food, especially when you're buying healthy food. That does cost a little bit more. If it goes bad, it doesn't help the situation. So if you store your food correctly, it can help. I actually have these bags that I got that actually help it last a little bit longer than if you just put it in a refrigerator or just put it in normal bags. So just knowing these little tricks can help. So I hope this information helped you. If it did, wonderful. Put those comments or questions below the video. Check out my other videos. And have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.